There we go. See that?
All right.
All right, and there's the PowerPoint. Hopefully you can see that.
Yep.
Yes.
Launch it. Okay, and go on to the agenda.
All right. I'll kick things off here then. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm calling this meeting of the Governance Working Group to order. It is 12:49 on August 27th, 2025, and I'm Barb Neal. We are recording the meeting, and the recording will be posted to the task force webpage following the meeting. Let's start with our roll call. If you could please verbally acknowledge your presence when I call your name. Paul White.
I'm here.
Okay, Mike Dunges.
I'm here.
Excellent. And of course, Rick, Dom, and Elizabeth are all here from Televate. Thank you very much. And I do believe all of our guests know each other. We have Michelle, Kate, and Chris from BSP. So welcome to all of you guys. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Approval of the agenda. Are there any changes needed to the agenda? You can see it's up on the screen there. Okay, hearing nothing, we'll consider the agenda approved. And then approval of the minutes. These would be the minutes from the meeting on August 20th, which were distributed to task force members, are also available on the web page. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you,
Sure,
Mike.
and I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes from August 20th, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye. All right, hands are up. Minutes are approved. Back to you, Dom.
Thank you, Barb. And moving on, I think we all know we're here for the governance working group meeting. And we just talked about the schedule at the task force meeting. This is our adjusted schedule. Right now, we show an additional two weeks for this working group. We'll probably have to discuss that, I guess, as we get towards the end of the meeting to see where we go from here. We may need more time. And our goal for this working group is to develop our recommendations to present to the task force for a governance structure to administer the regional and statewide interoperability communications policy standards, technologies, operations, everything we're working towards here as part of the task force. Let's see, that's a bit of a mix up there in the slides, sorry. But this is the update of the action items. And I will say, you saw I was a little mix up. This slide deck is kind of work in progress here as we're trying to get it ready for the meeting. The action items that have been resolved have been hidden, so they're not shown here. These are the ones that are yet to be resolved. Although action item 2, I guess I'll ask. I think we discussed last time, but is there any further discussion on the proposed definition and structure that was presented earlier, or can we potentially close this item?
I think I was the holdout on that, and I'm good with the governance definition.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Mike, Paul, any other comments?
I don't have anything to add.
All right. Thank you. We'll close that item out then. Action item 6 was for Mike. You had provided initial feedback on the League of Cities and Towns. Is there been any further? I think you were going to confirm that at the board meeting. I don't know if that's occurred yet.
Yeah, our board meeting is next week.
Okay.
And I actually emailed today to just say, hey, I'd like to to have this discussion on the agenda. And then for number 8, I did try to follow up with Devin one more time just to make sure we get that person assigned so I can get them connected with you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Item number 9, I think Rick and Chris were trying to schedule time. We're still working to do that, Rick?
Chris, my apologies. I will, after this meeting, I'll email you again so we can find time this week. Please have my apologies. It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. No
problem. Action item 12 is somewhat ongoing to look at dividing up regions. And Rick, can you provide some additional input here? This would be on the regions for to be represented in a governance board. Is that what we're looking for?
Yes and no. But that's, I think this is a conversation that we should, we try to entertain today with the working group, because, we have a number of models. I mean, obviously we have county model, we have police barrack, the state police barracks. There's a 4 region model that was proposed by the new Vermont Emergency Dispatch Association. We can, geographically look at, obviously we've assessed a variety of other regions. So when we get to the point where we ideally today, when we get to a time during this presentation, when we talk about the actual composition of the board and committees and regions, I think that'd be a good time for us all to collaborate on this together.
All right, great, thanks. Action item 13, Barb was to speak with the Hartford interim chief.
Yes.
Yeah.
It says to see how he feels about continuing in that role. It's actually a she is the interim chief, or
Okay.
I think she's not the interim anymore. I think she is the chief. I could be wrong on that. At any rate,
Chief.
okay, thank you. I did not do this. I did not follow up with her yet. This question is related to one of the recommendations in Mission Critical's report was that we might want to divide up dispatch regions by the existing PSAPs, right? And so the question was, do the existing PSAPs want to continue in that role? Do I have that right?
Yes, like for example, the town of Shelburne came in and told us that they may not want to do it going forward. So
right. And I think other than that comment from Shelburne, I haven't heard any PSAP say they don't want to continue in the role that they're in now. But the bigger question would be, this would require additional dispatch responsibilities if we were to divide things up that way. So I have not had that. I haven't had that conversation. I can reach out to her.
And Paul, that comment regarding Shelburne, that was potentially not continuing as a PSAP. Is that what that related to?
yes, when when the town manager met with us, to say that they may not, because it's not in their financial best interest as a municipality.
Right.
They're losing money doing it, so they may not want to continue doing that.
Right. They do have a new police chief there in Shelburne. I don't know if that will change that conversation at all, but might be worth staying tuned on that. And St. Albans is actually going through some pretty significant staffing issues right now that they're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel on. So I could probably open up a conversation with them as well. So I'll just continue with this action item.
All right, thank you. I think we did identify at a previous meeting that's certainly important that the governance board have some procedure, if you will, to address when there is a change in either PSAPs or the dispatch centers if any decide to not continue that particular function. We have to be able to react to that and fill in those gap areas. Well, on the PSAP side, you have a process for that currently at the 911 board, correct, Barb?
We do. We have an MOU
Yeah.
with all the PSAPs, which defines the length of time they need to give notice.
Okay.
If they're going to discontinue, it's really not, I'm honestly can't remember right now if it's 30 days or 90 days. I would have to check. But in either event, that's really not sufficient time. So that may need to be updated and certainly would need to be considered on the dispatch side of the house, that question, you know.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that addresses the ongoing action items. Rick and I were discussing earlier today how to proceed with this working group. We felt that it would be useful to have some detailed discussion in terms of what the working group feels the governance structure should look like and the composition of the board membership. And I believe Rick has put together some examples on existing governance board in other areas around the state, such as state education is one example. And this shows the board membership for that commission.
So, if I could, we spoke at our last session, we talked about other statewide examples of governance that, might affect and would be of not a benefit to understand what others, how they're organized. And so, since the State Education Commission was brought up, I went through and, they recently published and their act is Act 73, or maybe it's 73. And so they spent a great deal of time, like we're doing here, to better understand the current status of education districts and structure, and with the goal of changing the structure to better accommodate the current structure of the state. I mean, for example, 30 to 40 years ago, Vermont educated around 110,000 students each year in the various levels of school. Today, there's approximately 84,000 students. And there's some noted disparities between education in some areas of the state and others. And so with a goal of consolidating where best, and also to reduce property taxes and to provide equal education, and for a litany of similar to what we are trying to achieve, they have created this new board and a steering committee to help guide the board. And so, I went through this. In documenting this is just by example. Here's what they have. So, Secretary of Education, Chair of the State Board of Education, Tax Commissioner, a member of the House of Representatives, a member of the Senate, a member of Vermont School Boards Association, member of the Vermont Principals, Superintendents, the National Education Association, Association of Business Officials, the chair of the Census-Based Funding Advisory Group, which was recently created, executive director of the Vermont Rural Education Collaborative, and a member of the Vermont Independent Schools Association. So, as we look at creating, recommending the executive board for public safety communications, I thought this would be a good example, for us to just consider. I mean, there's clearly there's representative from a cross section of key associations and leadership and education groups, and so I thought it would serve as a good example. for what we're trying to, what we want to achieve as well. And so if we go to the next slide, there's also, a steering committee was also created. And the steering committee for this education commission, was designated to provide leadership to the commission and shall work with the consultants to analyze the issues, challenges, and opportunities faced in Vermont's public education system, as well as develop and propose a work plan to formalize the process through which the commission shall seek to achieve its final recommendations. Now, we have a steering committee box within an evolving governance structure for public safety communications. But I just wanted to share this steering committee is exclusively government. 2 members from the House, from the Committee on Committees. I think that's an interesting one. There is a Committee on Committees shall appoint 2 members, and then the governor shall appoint. So this is their consideration of steering. Not that we should have something similar, but this is what they've done. And so with that said, there's a lot more to this. There's the act is 147 pages, and I haven't gotten through it all, but I wanted to capture these key elements because we want to. Dom and I our goal today was to begin discussing composition, the structure of the Public Safety Governance Committee, and so this would give us something that's happening in the state as an example.
Any questions on that?
Oh.
Go ahead.
I'm just
go
curious
ahead,
about
Paul.
this. I'm curious about this. Granted, we're talking education, not our group, but with this steering, the bigger group that was on the previous slide, right?
Yeah.
That's made up of commissioner level people, legislators. It's people that are going to be involved in policy, but it's not people that are going to have boots on the ground doing the work. Is it the intent that the steering group would be the worker bees, for lack of a better term?
So I will need to read a few more pages, but I can do that and follow up via email what the structure is. But the commission was created as a kind of a governance group, but I have to read further on the function, the purpose, the who does what. I haven't captured all that. There's a lot going on here, but this steering committee is kind of all government focused, and so I don't think that in itself, that steering committee is a good example,
right? I think
for what we're trying to achieve.
From reading that, I assume that the Speaker of the House is going to appoint members of the House, and the Committee on Committees is going to appoint members of the Senate, or are they talking about like lay people, residents, citizens, members? Barb, so I know you told us last time that the 911 board has 9 members. Do they have a subcommittee or a steering committee, or is that kind of work done by your staff?
More now by our staff. In the beginning, though, I think there were a number of subcommittees when the board was initially formed. And we have had subcommittees from time to time since I've been executive director to look at particular issues. But there aren't any standing subcommittees. I'm pretty sure that they would have the authority to create them, but
right. Okay. I don't want us to end up with whatever our governance structure is. I don't want us to end up with a board that's all secretaries and commissioners and legislators and people that are not going to roll their sleeves up and do the work, and have to have a bunch of other groups to carry out their duties.
Well, and I think it's critical that in any of these configurations, if you will, there has to be a staff to
Right.
carry out
Sure.
the work.
Yes.
There just
Right.
has to be.
Yeah.
So, I like the idea of a steering group. I guess my thought, or another way this could be done, is the governance body itself could create the subcommittees that it sees fit to create, right?
I like that.
Depending on, because that could evolve over time as, it'd be very different in the beginning when they're first building this thing than it might be 10 years down the road when it's more mature.
Right. Yeah, which would kind of mirror what I know of the early days of the 911 board. So
There's also opportunity for some members or all members of the task force to be a steering committee. I mean, you have the amount of work that's been done and the knowledge that's been gained. This group could be an ideal steering committee, steering
Yeah.
group.
Yeah. Okay.
We
All right,
ready
so what
to
else? Yeah.
move on? All right. I think we'll skip a couple of slides here. We had this from previous meetings on governance structure and definition. I think we've moved past that. We talked, I guess, last time about key attributes. And this is what we recorded during that time. Are there any further discussion on this or new ones we'd like to add?
I'm just looking at the third bullet down, should have regional representation, but should have just one group of subcommittee instead of a group for each region.
I think this was in reference to, we had some discussion where one of the model governance structures provided by MCP had, regional groups in each of the subcommittee areas, like a regional group to address LMR, another regional group to address broadband, and another regional group, and or multiple regional groups, I guess. And we felt that was probably too complex for
We didn't want to be
the state.
redundant. We didn't want to be too redundant by having, for example, an LMR subgroup in each region. I mean,
I see. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Okay. And should leave the 911 board intact, at least initially, though shouldn't there be so if we're going to have a separate governance group, there should be 911 board representation on that group, I would think, so that or there should be some sort of legislative, I guess it'd be legislative directive to work in consultation with, right? So we're not.
So Barb, you're cheating. You're reading ahead of our presentation.
Yeah, should I?
Sorry.
Well, I was thinking this might be a good intro to go to that slide. Do you want me to do that, Rick?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, so part of one of our objectives of the meeting today was to, to begin creating a governance board, executive board composition. Right. And so, and yes, part of, I personally think, so what we've documented here is the previous, when we identified the Emergency Communication Advisory Council membership just as kind of a placeholder foundation. We discussed this briefly during our last meeting. Some of these members make sense and others don't make sense, and others would, need to be added to this group. So, leveraging what was previously put together as a council, and we all agree that we don't want a council. We need a board with decision making and budgetary and other capabilities. But we could leverage this as a beginning. But yes, I mean, clearly here, the executive director or designee of the Enhanced 911 board was on there. So it would seem to me to make sense that in a future governance, public safety communication governance board, that that position would still, a member would still be there from the Enhanced 911 board. However, we don't want to make any decisions on your behalf. So that's where we got to this. Well, what do you all think? Who should be on the board?
I think this definition, or this, what do I want to say, membership of this group, as it's written here, is too DPS centric, not centric, but heavy.
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of other representatives, but the Commissioner of Public Safety, the Director of Emergency Management, the SWIC, the Colonel, that is a lot of DPS.
Yeah.
So that's an observation. Like, I mean, maybe it's the logical one out of all of that might be the SWIC, or well,
That's
the
what I was thinking
Commissioner
too.
and the Commissioner, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or maybe that would be who she would appoint. And Michelle is just commenting that we ran into this when creating the Valcor governance board. The other thing, or the other observation I have is there's no dispatch representation here.
Exactly.
So someone from Liz's group.
The association. Should we do the make a membership from the association makes sense? The Vermont Emergency Dispatch Association.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
Yeah. And we need fire, we need police, you need to
So
you
that'd
need
be the State
public
Firefighters
safety.
Association.
Yeah, we always run into difficulty with the firefighters because there are so many associations, depending on whether you're a career firefighter, whether you're a volunteer, whether you're a chief. They all have their own little associations.
Yeah, here this shows Vermont State Firefighters, Professional Firefighters, Vermont Fire Coalition.
I don't even know what the Vermont Fire Coalition is.
Nor do I.
I'll look it up while we're chatting.
So
I know the fire chiefs have their own group too. Not that we want to include them all, but that might actually be a good way to represent the leadership view.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know, for example, the group that Ron is representing on this task force is not the same group that Bob Schlachter represented in the previous working group. One was, I think, the state firefighters, and one is I don't even know.
I'm putting them all in here, at least temporarily, and we can.
There is also a Vermont EMS Advisory Council, I think they're called.
Yeah.
Drew Hazelton is the chair of that. He's also a member of the 911 board. And I think part of their lists of tasks is to work with the task force on certain things.
Well, what was that, Barb? This is just very generic here. This says emergency medical services personnel. So
right.
if there's a formal group, what was it called?
I think it's the Vermont EMS Advisory Council.
Yeah, who does Michael Wright represent? Is it them? No, Drew was on the previous working group, but I'm not sure who Michael Wright represents on this task force.
Vermont Ambulance Association.
Oh, so right. So there again, two different associations representing the same constituency.
Right.
Right. The other thing that popped into my mind, but it might be covered by the advisory council, is the Department of Health Office of Emergency Medical Services, Will Moran's group.
Right.
Might be at least that would be a state level perspective.
Department of Health, what was that?
Office of Emergency Medical Services.
Well, I just want to let you know, as I search for the coalition, the fire, they seem to be, they may have been integrated into the Vermont State Firefighters Association.
Okay.
I'm not seeing a website for them, and I do see a joint where their name is right associated with the Vermont State Fire Association.
Well, that would work if we take them out, because now I see 2 firefighter representatives, 2 law enforcement representatives, and 2 EMS representatives. Right, in this group right here.
Right, and I'm about to complicate things. The member from Liz's group is great and appropriate, but wouldn't we also want to have a member from a PSAP and from a non-PSAP dispatch center? I mean, this thing will be enormous if I keep throwing out ideas, which will make everyone crazy.
And Michelle also put in, a sample board for Valcor, which, 2 representatives of state police, 2 representatives of local municipal police, 2 representatives sheriff, 1 commissioner of public safety, the chair of the program managers, a very law enforcement heavy.
Yeah.
And we have the Agency of Transportation, but we haven't considered the Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Department of Liquor Control, the Department of Motor Vehicles. So, I mean, it's how big do you want this monster to be?
Right.
Would some of them not be represented by the Commissioner of Public Safety, since number of those also reside within that department?
They don't reside in that department. Not currently, anyway. There is a move to make the commission, the Department of Public Safety, an agency of public safety, and then it might be a big enough umbrella to include them. But currently, game wardens fall under natural resources. Motor vehicle inspectors fall under, obviously motor vehicles. Liquor inspectors have their own department. So.
Hey, Dom, can you go to slide 21?
While we're adding, I'm sure the VLCT would love to have a voice on that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Who is that?
From their perspective. The Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
Oh,
yeah, have a voice on that as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. I don't want to miss, Barb, you also mentioned representative from PSAP.
Yeah, I'm just definitely kind of spitballing here because I am concerned now about just the number of people. Right. But I think it's important to have people from the ground, that.
Yeah.
And I'm still debating this Commissioner of Public Safety and the SWIC. So maybe it's the Commissioner of Public Safety or designee. And they can determine, is it best right now for the emergency management director to be there, or the SWIC, or who was the other one, the colonel?
We want to do that? Want to take out the SWIC?
I don't recommend taking the SWIC out yet, to be honest with you. I think not yet, because the SWIC in a lot of states doesn't come out of the Department of Public Safety. But this one here, I think here is from this is how North Dakota is they're statewide. So their governance is the statewide interoperability executive committee, and I just wanted to see they don't have the SWIC here either. So, which, you know, is not unusual. So, but yeah, I mean, here they've got multiple police associations. They got Game and Fish, Department of Health, League of Cities, counties. They got representative in the Senate, and oh yeah, that's the chief information officer. So I think, you know, because of cybersecurity, it may make sense to have a member from you know, the technology, information technology department in the state. I don't know what you all think, but here we've also got emergency managers, and they've got Department of Transportation. Not that we need to duplicate this, but I just want to see an example of what others are doing.
The on the ECAC list, there is representation from the Agency of Digital Services,
Right.
which would be the Chief Information Officer agency anyway.
Right. Or designate. Right.
Right.
But I had a question earlier. Do the PSAP directors, do they meet on a regular basis that they could choose a representative? Do they?
Well, with the 911 board has organized PSAP admin meetings, you know,
Okay.
A few times a year. It's not like an official group, but
It makes sense for a representative to be there.
yeah. Now, earlier you talked about the task force being a good like steering group. Do we want task force membership on this, or because I vote for Paul?
I would too.
I'm kidding. Just for the
Yeah.
continuity, though. Paul,
Yeah,
you've been in this
the one
conversation a
the
long
one
time.
the one member of this task force that doesn't have a job and gets paid to be here.
That's right. That's exactly
You
it.
know,
Right.
you know, I did read, Paul. I went back and looked at Act 78, and Act 78 does designate that there's a per diem.
Yes, I joke about that. I do claim the per diem when appropriate, but I'm just saying I don't have a job that allows me to participate in this as part of my job.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right, so I want to go back to the statewide interoperability coordinator. I don't think, you know, I mean, it's really up to the team. I'm just so used to interacting with the state with a SWIC, but you know, we don't want to overweight this board in any one fashion. So you know, I mean, I think that the SWIC could be a non-voting member to attend, but I mean, I think it depends on who is going to hold responsibility for. Typically, the SWIC on issues of communication, public safety communication interoperability, is a kind of administrator of these programs, and so that's why I didn't want to rule them out. But they don't necessarily, you know, that individual doesn't necessarily have to be a member of this board. They could be, you know, they could sit in, but I don't want to. I agree. We don't want to weight it heavy in one direction or another.
Maybe they would be named as like an advisor to the board, right? I mean, we would have to interact.
Yeah, certainly. Does the Commissioner of Public Safety also, they would represent the Vermont State Police, so that could be done that way?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, and I'm looking at the representative from a PSAP. I mean, there are two obviously DPS PSAPs that could add more DPS weight to it, but I don't know if we need to specify from a regional dispatch, or I mean, I don't know. Or maybe since it's
Yeah, that probably makes
emergency
sense.
Yeah, it's emergency
Regional.
communication specific. I just don't know if they would. I don't know what's best on that one.
So
I
go ahead. You go.
I was just thinking that to some degree, the director of the E911 board represents the interest of the PSAPs. I'm wondering, do what we want is a dispatcher, whether they come from a PSAP or a non-PSAP. What we're really looking to get at is to have somebody who dispatches day in and day out, whether they work in a PSAP or whether they work in a regional center. Somebody who knows the business of dispatching.
That's a really good point. Really good point.
Is that covered by
VEDA.
Right.
VTDA?
Yes.
It could be, or maybe they get to a point. Maybe VTEDA gets to appoint a member or maybe two members. That might be one way to do it. I see Michelle has her hand up.
Michelle has her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the comment that a dispatcher from a non-PSAP is a much different kind of dispatching than a dispatcher who is dispatching plus taking 911 calls. So I think if we were only to have one representative, it should be somebody from a PSAP because that's the most robust dispatching.
Interesting. Okay.
So that representative, though, should we designate a call taker dispatcher representative, or because here we got a member and then a representative from a regional dispatch, regional PSAP? Is that a director level? Is that a worker bee level? What do we mean by that?
That's a whole other,
Yeah.
Designating the entity that we give representation to is one step, but then getting that entity to send the right person to represent them is the next step. For example, like I can tell you with the police chiefs, I can tell you how that happens. We say in our document here that the Vermont Chiefs of Police Association will designate a representative, and I know how that works. The president of the association says, "Hey, guys, gals, we've got another request for representation. Who's got time on their calendar to go sit on this board?" And they pick somebody who says they have time on their hands, and they may or may not be the right personality to sit on the board.
Right.
That's how we ended up going through a couple of different chiefs on the previous working group, because it just was a matter of who drew the short straw to go sit on our committee.
Yeah.
So should we then also, based on what Paul just said, we say municipal law enforcement, should that be an association? I mean, if we just say municipal law enforcement and they don't speak on behalf of a broader community, we may not, that may not be the right approach, because you could say, is there a Vermont Sheriff's Association? If so, then that's who the member should be from the association and not just a sheriff.
So we would have the association recommend or what do I want to say? Name who the member is going to be that represents them. So you would want the Sheriff's Association. You'd probably want the Vermont Association of Chiefs of Police, right, Paul?
I think the Chiefs Association should be the one to choose the person, but it shouldn't necessarily have to be a chief. Like the Chiefs Association could select a lieutenant or a sergeant or somebody in a municipal police department who has some knowledge about communications that isn't necessarily a chief.
Right.
Because to be honest, most chiefs, at least in the bigger communities, have been off the road long enough that all they know is you pick up the microphone and you push the button and talk.
Hmm.
If they remember that much.
If they remember that much, right?
Well, I've
I can
always
vouch-
joked
I
that
can
that's all
vouch for
I
that.
know.
You can vouch for it. Mike, you
I
can
can vouch
vouch
for them.
for it?
I was in the car with my police chief the other day, and something came over the radio. I'm like, "You gonna respond?" He's like, "I don't know how to respond."
I don't know how to
Right.
That's funny. That's reality, though.
Whereas
Yeah.
there might very well be, an officer or a supervisor within the department who has some knowledge about radio systems that could be a big help.
Sure,
Mhm.
absolutely.
So what do we got here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 representatives.
Yeah,
And-
that's a bit. It's odd though. That's good.
We don't have Fish and Wildlife, though, do we? Do we need them? I
No.
mean, they are radio users.
Yeah,
They're
Paul
definitely
brought them
radio
up
users. They're
earlier.
definitely-
Highway, Fish and Game.
Yeah.
Doesn't state police dispatch for them though?
They do.
We do. And they're pretty good about going along with us for the ride.
Hmm.
You're right. Because if you do include Fish and Wildlife, then you really need to include DMV.
Yep. Liquor control.
Liquor, I could argue against liquor control because they're not, unless something has changed, they're not big radio users, but
Okay.
DMV definitely is. As much as Fish and Game anyway.
So let's go to the Department of Transportation and transportation. They tend to also be join a first response, to move debris, to clear. I've been in a lot of discussions where, our Department of Transportation first responders, no, but without them, a lot of incidents don't get addressed properly or don't get, they're not properly responded.
Right.
Um,
And they have a radio network. They have a radio network that's almost as big as VSP's. So I mean, it covers the whole state, just like everybody else. So.
Well,
Right.
we haven't really even talked to them because I don't know enough about their radio network, but we shouldn't. I don't recommend having multiple radio networks. I mean, with people, someone's got to pay for them. Taxpayers are paying for all that. That's why you have a consolidated radio network.
Corey's shop maintains their radio network. It's just when
Right.
I say their own network, I just mean their own frequencies. But
Gotcha.
Corey's shop takes care of them.
Okay.
Well, is that DMV that you were talking about, Paul?
No,
or is that the same?
It's
It's separate.
the maintenance division of the Agency of Transportation. The guys in the big orange trucks that are out plowing the road.
Yeah, Michelle said they also have DMV enforcement officers, but
Yep, that's true.
yeah,
Okay.
and I don't think they, in my opinion, they don't raise to a level to be on a board of this nature.
Well, if there was one representative from the Agency of Transportation, that would include the DMV enforcement guys as well as the
Mhm.
guys in the orange trucks.
So there was just to continue that discussion on transportation. Transportation was initially left off of the FirstNet members of government who could be also use the FirstNet radio network. And they were later added. They were left off the original list, but the transportation was eventually added as a first responder agency that could also be a subscriber to get priority and access to the FirstNet network. So they were their level was raised to that consideration.
Right.
But then when you continue, if you add, the more you add on, then others are going to say, well, how come I'm not on there?
Right.
So
Well, and I was just noticing, we in our list from the working group suggestions, we don't have public service. which made me also think of the broadband board.
Yeah,
But those could also be resources that this governance board goes to.
sure.
You know,
Exactly.
Right.
It's a lot to think about.
Well, that's what Dom and I thought that would be the case. This would consume, a lot of our time because we haven't, this is once we talk about the board, now we got to talk about, the rest of the structure, but this is key to start here. And then, of course, when you talk about a governance board, then the chair, co-chair, do you have a permanent designee? Do you have a revolving membership that are voted by the board or that just volunteer? I mean, someone that's got a chair or co-chair of this group. So, you've got to, that's part of this decision-making process as well.
Well, for the 911 board, the governor appoints all the members and the chair and the vice chair.
That's what I was just going to say is the administration is probably going to insist on having at least one, if not a couple, general governor's appointees that may not come from any of these disciplines.
Right.
Yeah. And North Dakota, they have they have a chair and a vice chair. They don't have co-chairs, but they have a chair and a vice chair. So in the event that the chair is not available, the vice chair takes over. So they don't have co-chairs, but we have co-chairs for the task force. So maybe it makes sense that you have co-chairs. But I like the idea that they're revolving in some way. But the other structures, is this an independent? Is this integrated under one of the agencies? Is this it's like the enhanced 911 board? Are we totally independent, or are we situated under a department?
I believe firmly it should be an independent group.
I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put add one thing on the whole governor appointing members. With the 911 board, the governor appoints all of them. So we meaning the board, really it's the board chair and I, will get recommendations from. So if we lose our municipal representative, I go to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns and say, hey, do you have a candidate that we could present to the governor for his approval? And I go to various other agencies, though I don't think it's defined in statute. It's not defined in statute which entities I have to go to for recommendations. But the ultimate responsibility is with the governor to appoint many of the members. Now, Commissioner of Public Safety or designee is in the statute. So some are identified, but others have to go up through that.
So, and to streamline the authorization, the legislative support for this, it certainly makes sense. Again, for a deliverable to the legislature is, would be, here's the task force recommendation, considerations, members from these communities be on the board as designated by the governor or however we choose to go. But I mean, our goal here is to provide them with recommendation based on the knowledge of the task force. And so I think it makes a lot of sense for what we're doing here. And to keep it just to avoid, well, who do you mean? Who is that? Where would they come from? The more clarity we can provide them, I think that the more robust and expedited approval process we're going to be able to accommodate.
Are there any additional, I mean, we talked about the transportation, fish and game. They haven't added them on here yet. What's the consensus on those?
But we also are going to remove the interoperability coordinator as a member, right?
Did we decide that? I think we did, all right? That would be
Yes.
somebody that they probably consult with, confer with. Paul, you mentioned an agency that would cover potentially DOT and
Yeah,
uh,
the DMV,
DMV.
DMV is a department within the Agency of Transportation. So even though DMV does have enforcement personnel, ultimately they fall under the Secretary of Transportation.
Does that make sense? To add someone from the Agency of Transportation?
I think it does, but
I think so too.
Yeah, me too.
because that covers DMV, including DMV enforcement, the highway division, the big orange trucks, aviation, rail.
Yeah, that's good to have them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm always
I-
wondering if we could say Vermont EMS Advisory Council or Department of Health, Office of Emergency Medical Services. I'm not sure that they both would need to be represented. That might make the list a little.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it depends on whether are we talking about putting in statute who these people are, or are we doing like the 911 board and saying, the governor will appoint, and
Hmm.
one of the people he appoints should be from the EMS community. Same with the firefighters.
Right.
But you still run the risk of, does the governor appoint someone who is really going to be engaged, or
Right. Hmm.
somebody who was friendly to the campaign?
Right. Let's see.
So, when I look at EMS, my mind goes in two directions. It goes emergency medical and emergency management.
Right.
So, I mean,
Any emergency management in Vermont anyway falls under DPS.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because that's not typical, to be honest with you.
Right.
No.
Because, emergency management, we had a meeting with emergency management, and they don't rely on radio at all, I was pretty shocked by.
Yeah.
But
They did decades ago. They used to, but probably not anymore.
yeah, I was surprised because, I mean, the radio networks should be designed to be more resilient, with backup power and equipment. But obviously, that has not been the case. I don't think in statewide for land mobile radio in Vermont. So what do we have now? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I
7.
think we're still at 13. We took one away and we added one.
Yeah, but we still have two from the emergency medical services. So is that the
Yeah.
right approach? We got 2 fire, 2 police, 2
Yeah.
emergency medical. Yeah, I mean, they each get representatives there.
Well, and that kind of goes to the local state balance too, I think,
Yep.
because the advisory council might appoint, would likely appoint a non-state EMS representative.
Hmm.
Right.
I feel like this is a good start, but I feel like I still want to ponder some of it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well,
And-
I think we should, I think we should let it sit and let it stew a little bit.
Right.
There's still more work. There's still more to do on the next slide.
Right. Because no matter what we do, the legislature will change it. So.
Right, right. And we're scheduled to end this meeting at 2.
Yeah, we're
Um,
close.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if what else do we have to do here? Schedule the next meeting and public comment.
Yeah, that's fine. I do have a stop at 2 also.
Okay. What's on the next slide there? Would that like wrap up this section and then we'll just schedule or is that a whole new big topic?
Yeah,
It's
a
a
big
whole
topic.
new discussion. Maybe it's something we can send out via email to give some thought to, but this is just a potential structure.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if you do distribute that, we can have an idea of what would be coming up next and we can take a look at calendars for the next meeting. Does that
Yep.
make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, next Wednesday is the 3rd of September. We don't have a task force meeting. Would 11 o'clock work for Mike and Paul and Televate?
Next Wednesday at 11. I see.
Next Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday I will be in Maine, but provided I have.
I have availability until 12.
We
I
could do it.
am.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
No,
I
go
can't
ahead,
do
Mike.
Wednesday at 11. I can't do Wednesday at 11.
Okay. I could do 2 o'clock on Wednesday.
I can do
Probably
that.
Paul will still be in Maine.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I assume I'll have connectivity in Maine.
How about 2:30?
2:30?
2:30.
Hold on a second. 2:30. That's I won't be. I can't do that.
Alrighty.
I got another
Um,
conflict.
What about Thursday?
Yeah. Thursday, I could do 11.
I'm wide open Thursday.
Oh,
I
I'm
could
looking at
do-
my calendar.
I could do 11 on Thursday. Right, September 4th. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 4th.
Could we do, what time we say? 11? Could you do 10:30? Hold on a second. Let me
So-
see. No, hold on. What time did we say? I'm making it.
Thursday,
Okay.
the 4th at 11 is the proposed time.
All right, Thursday, 11. Could we do 10:30? I will have a meeting and begins right, if we start at 10:30, I can go right into my next meeting.
I can do 10:30.
10:30 on Thursday. I could probably cut my meeting short. Yeah, I'll try to be there for 10:30.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, you're welcome. No doodle poll.
Many, many, many thanks to all of you.
It's so hard. Okay, so next meeting is scheduled for next Thursday, September 4th at 10:30. And public comment. So we've had some participation from the people that joined us today. Is there anything else anyone wants to add?
I do not have anything to add.
Alrighty. Chris?
Just one thing, more so an observation. You know, I overheard during the meeting, of course, that sometimes the concern is about that we're overly or DPS heavy, if you will, in a lot of things. And I can't say whether I disagree or agree with that, But just to note that many times we become DPS heavy on a lot of these groups simply because DPS, as opposed to some other states, we have a stake in many other functions and communities throughout the state. I mean, we support so many agencies. And that is the reason, inadvertently or inherently, that we end up with so much representation on different types of work groups. And I've run into this on other working groups in the past where they said to me, why do you have so many people from DPS? Well, because we support your networks. Our state police supports the majority of all your special teams, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if you find that, if you look at that through the state, that's just kind of the way it is. Whether we like it or not, DPS ends up to be a big supporter. Even from our dispatch centers, we support about 65 other agencies outside of DPS that we dispatch for. So inadvertently, we have a big footprint in the state of our two PSAPs. So really, again, just an observation. That's really all I had to add. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. That is a very good point. So you've been heard. Yes. Michelle, how about you? Anything to add?
No, good here.
All righty. Then I think so. We're done all that we need to do as far as the agenda goes, except for adjourning. Is there anything else that we want to discuss before we do that?
Only that Kate is on here too. I don't know if she has a comment to make.
Oh, I thought Kate said she didn't, but maybe I misheard.
No, I did. Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Hey, I just want to congratulate you. I have been in these meetings before when we're trying to, establish participation, and they go on for days and multiple meetings. So, the logic that you're using is very valuable, and I congratulate you because this is very complex. This is complex and really good dialogue and idea sharing. So congratulations.
Thank you, Rick. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
Mike
You
and I-
guys,
so
you
Mike
guys
and I
don't want
look-
to leave.
Mike and I looking at each other, who's going to make the motion, who's going to second? I think he moved and I'll second.
All
there you
right,
go.
fair enough. All in favor of adjourning, raise your hand
Aye.
or signify by saying aye. All right, great. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody, for your participation. And we'll watch, John, for you to send the slide deck out so that we can be thinking about the next meeting.
Absolutely. Will
Okay.
do.
Okay.
All right.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Have a
Bye.
good day. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.